Well, hello, lovely listeners, and welcome, viewers. Today, I have a very, very special treat for you all. Look at all these beautiful faces you can see on the screen right now. These are some of the most courageous, beautiful human beings you will ever meet in your life. These are just some of the wonderful organization called Rapid Response. And I know a lot of you watching now will know who Rapid Response are, and you will have seen some of the footage. And Rapid Response are all about helping people keep their assets and their property from the fraudulent world that we all know that we live in and the corrupt system. And so many people don't know about the corruption and why things are fraudulent. These guys do, and they're out there putting their money where their mouth is. They've got balls the size of Mount Sputnik, and they're just out there doing it. But they're also, like me, having their own individual fight as well in terms of their own personal journey. So first and foremost, guys, thank you so much for all being here. It's an absolute pleasure to have you all on. What I'd like to do is because there's so many of us, we're just going to try and keep this a little bit concise with everybody, but I want everybody to share some of their journey and also what got them into rapid response. And some of us, I think all of us actually, probably on this call, have also migrated into another authority called the World Marshal Authority, which is really where the big kahunas lie. And we're going to have Kevin and Martin talk about that in a little while. So before I start getting people to talk, if you can keep liking, sharing, subscribing to my channel, it really, really helps me grow the channel. I've been so pleased with how it's growing organically. You know, YouTube are being arses and won't monetize me. So if you can buy me a coffee /Mel Clark, much appreciated. So, firstly, I think we'll go to Andy B. Andy, I think is one of the original members of Rapid Response, and correct me if I'm wrong with that, Andy. Let me just get rid of that. So, if you can tell us, Andy, a little bit about your backstory, what got you into joining Rapid Response, and obviously any individual journey that you've had yourself. And what keeps you passionate to keep doing it? Because I know it's a bloody slog, you know, for the people that are driving here, there, and everywhere to help people. Because as much as there might be thousands of members in a Telegram group, they're not turning up to help people in real time. So just tell us a little bit about you, Andy, and what got you going into it.
What got me into the rapid responses, we started learning our rights and about the corruption in the Sovereign Project. Then a friend of mine had a court case over council tax. So, we learned about all the corruption, what they expected to happen, and do you know what I mean? Learning is one thing, but then when you actually go out and you see it for yourself, you see the corruption, you see that, that you're expecting there to be a court there, and you're expecting it to be all above board and legal, and you see that it's actually the council that are running the courts, not an actual court. It kind of just opens your eyes. So then on from that, obviously you do a bit more research and you go through down a few more rabbit holes and you see that what else is corrupt. Then you realise that the banking system's corrupt. So then they're trying to take people's houses off them. You could have paid your mortgage for the last 40 years, and if you've got 10 years left, say, just an example, they'll come and take your house off you for falling behind, even though mortgage rates were going up and up and up and up and up. So again, another example, a friend of mine, his mortgage went from £800 a month to almost £2,000 a month now.
Yeah.
To me, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Who can afford £2,000 every month, on top of everything else that we're being overcharged for. And it's unfair. And the thing is, like a friend of mine said to me, he says, if we lost our house tomorrow, right, who would we go to? Because the problem with the full of the system is that they're all in each other's pockets. There's no independence. There's no there's no real I can't think of the word now. But yeah, so they're all one
Yeah, there's
problem.
no
So
separation of powers, is there? There's like,
yeah, yeah. So like again, you can't then escalate it to an ombudsman because they're all still part of the same problem. They're all still funded by each other and they're in each other's pockets. So it's a system that's designed against us in every manner. But then you go out and then you see that the police are instructing bailiffs and Do you know what I mean? It's just a massive of corruption and fraud. And what keeps me passionate is at the end of the day, I'm doing it for the children, because at the end of the day, what we don't stop now will only get worse for when our children get older.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. So what if you could think about an event you've been to where you've tried to help or take back a property or anything like that, just give us a sort of real-time experience of what that looked like. Because I've been to a couple myself, and I've probably not been to anywhere near as many as you guys. But what I witnessed was just like, what the actual fuck, when you're actually seeing, I don't know, 20 odd police, like you said, assisting the bailiffs. I mean, the one particular one that I went to, they were speaking to the bailiffs about linking arms, for safety from us, the people, which, there was no violence or anything like that. The violence was coming from the bailiffs. So if you can think about maybe, I don't know, one of the worst ones you've been to, or one where it was a real great success and you were really proud of what you were able to do. Anything come to
Well,
mind?
yeah, to be honest, well, the police claim that they're there to prevent a breach of peace,
Mm.
but every time it's always the police that actually breach the peace.
Yeah,
So obviously, as you say, they're assisting the bailiffs. They should be independent. They should have no communication, or they shouldn't. They should be completely independent to the bailiffs. And as you say, there's been examples where they're instructing the bailiffs what to do, telling them to get in front of them, telling them what to do. When again, that they should be completely unbiased. Do you know what I mean? They're there to prevent the breach of the peace, not to be involved. And as I say, I feel that they're abusing their duties and abusing the uniform and acting outside of what they should be doing.
yeah, absolutely. And what would you say to anyone that might have thought about joining rapid response, or, are incensed by what they know what's going on, but they haven't taken any action? What would your advice be?
My advice would be to get to know your rights, get to know the law, and not in massive detail, and come and join us because you know what, like at the end of the day, it could be you that's losing your house tomorrow because you can't afford the mortgage because the rates have gone sky high. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? And we need to stand together. The only way we fight this is by standing together.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's the numbers. We need the growing numbers, and that's what, certainly rapid response have struggled with in terms of that. There's been great successes, but it gets tiring, doesn't it, when the same people just keep turning up to all of these different ones. It's
That's
really
it.
it's tiring. So okay, cool. Well, thank you very much for sharing. So I'm going to go to Phil now. Phil, if you're ready. Now, we've had Phil on before. It was a very successful podcast. And I know, Phil, you were one of the earliest members of Rapid Response. So just give us your sort of version of events, what you think Rapid Response should be, is, and where you see things going.
Uh, yeah, well, we had a few cases. It was the same. We were the same as Derby, but just same sort of situation. And we were tackling the bailiffs, clamps, all sorts of anything anyone was ringing us for. We were going and assisting. And then we come across the rapid response. I've done the Bannerman video, and I said it started in 2022. It's 2020. And I only noticed that I'd said that from someone writing in the comment. Yeah, so it's just gone so quick since 2020.
So you were doing
Um,
it, you were doing it anyway before the Rapid Response thing kicked in.
yeah, then we seen the app because obviously we knew, this needed to be in every community. We weren't good on computers or anything, so we were just doing it, and then it just literally as we were thinking of it, we come across the rapid response app. We got Chester on there. I think it was the end of 2020 or right at the beginning of 21. No, it must have been end of 2020, I think, because we had Richard Collins' house and stuff like that. And then it was we set Liverpool up in 2020. But yeah, it is. It's always the same people. But I think now, we went and met Dale for his court case, and we had a good discussion with Dale and Steve Forsyth.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of military lads coming forward now, and ex-military lads, and they're asking what direction, where they can sort of start getting involved in that. I think rapid response is a good place for people to start, just to get your bearings, start learning, like what Andy said, learning your rights, just turning up and listening to what people say. And even if the bailiffs don't turn up, there's a good conversation that happens, in the street, and we talk about it, and there's a debate, and it is a good place for people to learn. Um, you know, People are noticing rapid response now. The courts, the bailiffs, especially Liverpool. We say we're turning up. The bailiffs will scarper, or
Mm.
they'll throw the tools in the van. They see the videos, um, and they don't want to be part of it. We had one today in Liverpool. Tomo, he's one that's been serving all the family courts for the child abuse. He actually lost his daughter, hung herself, and it was down to Sefton Council and that. Absolute cracking lads. He done a notice for this family, and the bailiffs rang up and said the judge has made the wrong decision. They shouldn't have made that decision. There's vulnerable people in the house. The son's vulnerable, and so is the wife, both with disabilities. And they're trying to throw him on the street. So we went down. Bailiffs didn't turn up in the end, but it's an ongoing thing. And it's getting tiring.
Yeah.
Um, and there's only so much we can do. But it's like the end of the tunnel. We've had a couple of good months, I think, haven't we, now with the World Marshals Authority.
Yeah.
I think we know what direction we need to go in now.
Yeah.
And, you know, yeah, the ones with
Yeah.
the balls and that are serious need to jump on that with us now. But yeah, start with rapid response, learn your rights. That's the start, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously there is a rapid response Telegram group and there's different regions, isn't there, that people can join and
Yeah,
you'll see the call out. And sometimes the date could be tomorrow. It just depends on how much notice you get. But
yeah,
but very often it's a week or 2 weeks in advance. So if you want to go and support people in your local area, or if you're prepared to travel further, then like Phil said, it's a perfect opportunity to go and meet like-minded people and start understanding what's going on and how you can help. And you've just mentioned the World Martial Authority there, Phil, which is basically it's going to be rapid response on steroids, really. And a lot of people haven't been able to get involved or feel like they can't get involved because they haven't got the time. It's costing them money. They've got a job, this, that, and the other. Whereas with the World Martial Authority, that will all change on its head. If you're passionate about stopping corruption and helping humanity, basically, then the World Martial Authority could be the perfect place for you in terms of actually being recompensed for your passion and your hard work.
yeah. Well, we always knew there was an issue, because obviously people are stupid, especially in the police and the court system. And, they always look for that authority, and if, with rapid response, there isn't, there's no, other than us being men and women, which they don't understand, we have the overall authority over them, which they don't understand because they're trained to believe that they're now, they work for the crown, do what the crown say, and they violate everyone's rights.
Yeah,
Um, it's mental. But we always knew there was an issue that we needed to be within rapid response. We needed a way of getting assured and bonded to be in that position. And then obviously the World Marshals come along, which have already done this process from 2014, which now is all lining up nicely, where we've been doing what we've been doing in rapid response, and now it should be a nice smooth transition into something more, with a lot more clout
yeah,
and with the overall authority.
yeah,
Um, and we'll be able to, once we're assured and bonded, we can then issue warrants to have these arrested. So if we do the writs and we pursue them, we do it lawfully, like we've been doing with the notices. Nothing's changing. All it is, it's just we've got the authority behind us. But obviously, the lad's going to talk about that. But it's just exciting. I can't, it's yeah.
yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. But it's the same feeling I'm getting from this as what I first had with rapid response.
Well, that's
Uh,
good.
so yeah, and I'm excited, really excited.
Yeah, I love what you said as well, because obviously Dale and Steve, I've had them both on the podcast, and the fact that more military are coming forwards and want to get
Yeah,
involved is music to everybody's ears. Because when Dale was on, we were talking about, because I was asking about his ex-colleagues, or if that's probably not the right phrase for military, but and he said, unfortunately, they have been brainwashed and they're not seeing it.
Yeah,
a lot of them. So the fact that you've got guys coming forward that are starting to see it is brilliant. Really
yeah.
good.
But it's like Star Wars now, isn't it? It's either you're on Darth Vader's side, which you are at the moment. You're fighting for the dark side, or you come over to the resistance, and
Mm,
that's what this is. The World Marshals Authority. It's peace by parchment. It is what it is.
yeah,
We've had enough of wars. I've lost track. I can't get my head around all the wars that have happened all over the world, for the past 100,000 years. It's mental. We've had enough war. So it's time for the peace part, isn't it? But
absolutely. Yeah,
obviously the criminals need to be dealt with. And that's not going to be so peaceful, but they're going to get a chance, aren't they, through the
yeah,
paperwork now. You
yeah,
put the wrongs right. And if they're not willing to do that, and then there's going to be serious consequences for them.
absolutely. Well, thank you, Phil.
Yeah, pleasure.
I'm gonna keep rolling on for a bit.
Around. Happy days.
Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, man.
So I think we'll come on to another military guy, Mickey B. Would you like to unmute? And as some of you know, he's my partner now. So, did you have a nice dinner, love?
I did.
Good.
Very posh one because I did it myself.
Yeah, it's usually me cooking for you. No, I'm only joking. Um, so obviously I met Mick last year when I was going through my own struggles of bankruptcy and or threatened bankruptcy back then through the council. And Mick runs a sovereign project in Coventry. So I was encouraged to go along to that. And then I've just met some amazing people, including all of these guys that are sat on this screen right now. So Mick, how did you sort of get to this point of rapid response? I know how you woke up in 2020 like lots of us did. You started to see the bullshit, the scandemic, all that sort of stuff. But what was it for you that really kicked you into wanting to do things like rapid response and, and the World Marshal Authority?
What kickstarted me into it? Well, obviously, Big Mick Mulholland, who's not on here, unfortunately, tonight. But Mick Mulholland got me into the rapid response. I went over to the Derby lot when the Derby lot was very active, and that's where I met Phil and Steve and a few others when they were trying to take Matt's house. I think they'd already took Billy's at the time, but when they're trying to take Matt's house, um, and the camaraderie and the fight for the good was amazing. I mean that particular day when they took the house back, that was something special to watch.
When was that? How long ago was that?
Oh, Philip, when was that, mate? 23? Under 23 or early,
Yeah. I
yeah, 2023.
can't remember. I'd done the paperwork to the police for that one, didn't I?
It
Yeah,
was Easter
Um,
Sunday, 2023.
is that what it
there you
was?
go. Yeah,
What a day then.
yeah, it was.
Yeah,
And
it was Easter Sunday. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, cracking day. It was brilliant. Couldn't have gone any better. But that was, I think, the turning point. When everyone got together on Matt's house.
Yeah.
I think we'd had at that point. It was like,
Well, you had the Kent crew and that came up, didn't you? From Kent.
yeah, cracking day. It was
Yeah, it
brilliant.
was.
Yeah, and it was a turning point for us. I think that was,
Yeah.
and bond from that day. I think.
Mm. So yeah, so meeting the Derby crew, and then obviously I got introduced to Phil, Steve, and Kenny, and a few other guys. Okay, I may give information out on a Tuesday night to help people understand a bit of the corruption between law and legal and everything that's going on behind the scenes. But the real help is, guys that are turned to these rapid response. So yeah, so I met a few. Then obviously we went down to Harlow, and I think Harlow could have been better if it was more organised. Now that's no disrespect to anybody when I say that, but it could have been a bit better organised in terms of people's roles on that day. It was still going to be a tough one.
So this is
Um,
the take back.
yeah, the take back at Harlow, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
just so people understand. Yeah.
And that's what we need. We need people. I mean, I just turned up and people are organising it, and I just go with the flow. But it could be more strategically thought out and operated in a sense. Um, but
I'm not
again,
I'm I'm not sure that, yeah, I know what you're saying, and I know there was a lot of you that managed to get into the house and then managed to get ousted out of the house. If
Mm.
it had been better organized, would it have changed? But there was a lot of brute force there that day, and there wasn't a lot of manpower, was there, really, on balance? There was a lot of women
No,
there.
and I made a comment after that on the rapid response because there was something like 5,500 people at that time, and there was something like I don't know, was it Phil about 30 blokes, 35 blokes
Yeah,
that
there was,
turned up, and all the rest were women.
yeah,
Yeah,
You know, and
that,
some of the blokes
yeah.
are like the blokes are old. They're like in their 50s. There's not many young chickens there, like in their 20s and 30s. You know,
No,
it's
there was about
50s.
probably about 15, like
Yeah,
lads, but there was easy 30 of them, and then plus the police,
yeah,
protecting them as well.
yeah.
Um, yeah, it's mental, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But that, like, I'll go back to what Andy was saying about learning stuff and what Phil was saying. I've met so many good people with these rapid response. Trevor Milam, he's been on your
yeah.
podcast as well. Very knowledgeable guy. And Derek, I haven't really seen him on one. I know you have, but
Mm,
Derek, who's doing a lot now and fighting the family courts.
yeah,
Um, and obviously, the Kent crew. There's a lot of people down there. Tobes, DJ, the Liverpool crew. But when we all come together, like we did, and that's the only time I've really seen it, was at Matt's, where everyone took, everyone was there, and we were such a brute force. The coppers couldn't. I mean, never seen anything like it. The amount of coppers that turned up, considering they're supposed to be thin. Do you know
yeah.
what I mean? They can't turn up to a burglary, or they can't turn up to this, and they can't turn up to that because they're so busy. God, there was a few turn up that day to try and help out the bankers.
Oh, it just
You
shows
know?
you just how corrupt it is, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. But yeah, that day at Matt's was something special. Yeah, it really was.
What would you say, Mick, to the trolls that are inevitably going to be putting some comments on here and basically saying, oh, epic fail. Yeah, you never win. Yeah, you lose the houses. Yeah, this, yeah, that. What would you say?
Yeah, we've lost, but we've also won. You know, individually and collectively. So there are wins, but I don't look at it as winning. It's about doing doing the right thing, what's morally right.
Yeah,
Now, who in the right mind turns up to a woman's house with four kids in, puts a
yeah,
chainsaw down the middle of the door, and then kicks them out of the house on the street, not
yes.
giving a shit where they're going to go,
It's a
not
15 or
care, not
16,
caring where they're going to end up.
15 or 16 she was, wasn't she? The
Yeah,
girl.
you know. So for
Yeah,
everyone to turn up
um,
helping these people, and if you got trolls on here that come on, they're saying epic fail or whatever, grow some balls. Do what these lads are doing and helping people out, and actually get yourself educated and know why we're doing it. Because there's too many people that just all this on here, we know when that pivoting point where you're getting shafted, well, you either carry on getting shafted or you stand up for yourself and your fellow man say, no, it's not happening anymore. I ain't getting shafted anymore. That's it, regardless of consequences. And what you've done, Mal. I mean, people don't know too much about your story, but when you found out about the corruption, you just went all in, just dived in. There was no baby steps for you coming to the Sovereign Project and learning of it. You just dive straight in. But we're still dealing with that now.
Yeah,
But yeah, and obviously the WMA it appears to be a massive game changer. But it can't come quick enough. I'm frustrated. I want to hit the ground running. Let's go.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I think,
Get us bonded. Let's start putting it together.
well, we're getting closer, aren't we? We know that there's a deadline now for the paperwork, etc. So, and I know Phil's excited as well about all of that. We all are because it's just like it has taken a long time, or feels like it's took a long time because they're not just dealing with England, they're dealing with the
No.
whole of the world. And
I just want to say one more point.
yeah,
Coming down in this road, I've lost so many friends, you know, over the years, but I've met so many courageous, brave people. And it's an honor to share those times with people like Phil, like Kenny, like Martin. I haven't met Kevin yet so much or Michael, but all these people are amazing people. Absolutely amazing.
yeah, I completely
And I'll
100%.
close on that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Thank you very much, Mickey B. Um, okay. I think we'll bring a lady into the chat now. There's only one other lady but me here, so Lady Allison, would you like to step forwards? Right, Allison.
Okay. Hi, Mel.
So me and you have briefly met
We have.
at Mick's house, and we've spoken a bit over the phone, but we haven't spent too much time together yet, but I know that will change.
Yes.
And it's so nice for me to meet a fellow female warrior. And I know I think your balls are bigger than mine. I wrote a song about that. So Alison, tell us a little bit about you and sort of what kicked you into this journey that you're on.
I think, as for most of us, we're not going to go on about the pandemic, but it pretty much was there.
Yeah.
Luckily, we were united as a family, and so we all had the same views. So none of us were jibber jabbed. And then, unfortunately, in November 2021, my husband died. And that's a whole new story, but that's not for now. And then everybody that I've met have said they always knew that they were different. And I knew. I didn't. It was like there was something empty inside of me, and I didn't know where I was going. But then after Mark died, I got massively into the Sovereign Project.
Yeah.
And then a lot of spiritual things. And then met some amazing people, which, that's my journey, obviously, to be. And then did exactly what you did. No baby steps, jumped right in there for the whole shebang.
Yeah.
Got myself in a bit of trouble, but gradually getting myself out of it. Because we're not fighting just, are we? We're not fighting like a lawful system. We are fighting corruption every single day, from being filmed on the checkouts in the supermarket to being filmed on the streets to everything. So the speeding fines, the parking fine, it's the whole thing. And you have to unlearn what you know, because it's all fake.
And I know you had a speeding thing, and I've just had one where the court thing happened without my knowledge, and apparently I've now got 6 points, even though they didn't do me for speeding. Work that one out.
They did. Yeah.
So just talk about, educate the people that are listening. Why is it that speeding is unjust and fraudulent? Because people are, whether they're trolls, whether they're bailiffs, whether they're coppers on my comments saying, well, if you've done it, just take the hit. You were speeding. Well, no, it wasn't me anyway. Hence why they've taken away the charge of speeding.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on all of that in terms of people that think, well, if I've gone over the speed limit, then I should get my points?
Well, not really. There are roads. We own the roads. We've paid for the roads. They're public roads. And then they've got this corporation coming in and saying, oh, you went too fast, I'm going to fine you. Now, obviously, we all agree that there is a moral limit to driving down a 30 or whatever. It's not like, oh, everybody go and do whatever you want, but it's the whole way they do it. And they did exactly to me what they've done to you. Once I failed to disclose, which I couldn't, because breaching data protection holds a much higher fine and also more points. So I went along that route. Oh, the speeding was forgotten. It's not important anymore. So what was important?
Yeah.
Was the speeding important? Had I broken the law? Was there a victim? Why did they issue a fine without due process? The Bill of Rights, no fines or fortitudes can be, enforced. But the first thing they do is they send you that fine, creates the fear in most people. But I've been fighting it for a year and a half now, and it's gone very, very quiet. Very quiet.
Yeah, yours was through a company as well, wasn't it? Because you've got your own company. Is that right?
Yeah. And the last letter that I sent really was from the heart. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I have to question your motives. Where all the other things was all the details of why it shouldn't happen and all of that. But then I was just like, no, what are you doing? Who is this person that's opening this letter? You're coming after. It was literally, we don't care, pay the fine. We're not interested, pay the fine.
Yeah.
No response, just the same as with the courts. You try and get hold of a court. You ain't doing it.
No, it's contact
So,
center or email. Yeah.
yeah. And then the email gets bashed about, and eventually, you know, with what happened to me with the TLT LLP, which we have had quite a big success with them today. So they've backed down and they've closed the file, which I feel really lucky about because they're the ones that Toby's dealing with. They
Yeah,
are ruthless.
I know TLT.
Ruthless.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that, or?
Well, basically, they're a third-party interloper.
Yeah.
So with regards to the mortgage, all I ever said, I never refused to pay my mortgage. I just said, well, and by the way, mine went up from £1,200 to £3,500.
Yeah.
So I never said I'm not paying. I said, please provide me with the original contract. I will fly to Ireland. I will come to see it wherever it is. Because at first they were saying, oh, well, we can't send it here. Oh, no, that's fine. I'll come and see it. So because they've run out of options, then they decide, because my mortgage term is up after 20 years, they came after me big time. And so I have made an agreement with the Bank of Ireland because at the end of the day, I'm not losing my house. And for other reasons, which I won't say. But TLT, absolutely. We want to know your finances. Ringers sending me letters all the time. And I told them 2 weeks ago, your assistance is not needed anymore. I'm in agreement and in arrangement with the Bank of Ireland. So basically go away. Emailed the judge, said I couldn't make it on the 6th of May. And that it was unjust for the court case to go ahead without me. It went ahead anyway, even though they'd received and acknowledged my email. The judgment was they ordered placed the order of the N26 for order of repossession. So I don't care who you are, it does make you go a little bit panicky.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So then back onto the bank. The bank are now making a complaint to the court to say it shouldn't have gone ahead because an arrangement was in place. So then I've emailed TLT, asked for their bond, no reply. They just replied saying, oh, well, you know, we're acting on behalf of the Bank of Ireland. So then we rang them today and they have said case files closed. And also emailed me to confirm that the case is closed. No bailiffs or High Court enforcements will be attending my property on the 3rd of June.
Allison, did they send the bond?
It's not come through yet, mate. She said 24 hours from today, didn't she?
Is she sending it?
Well, we'll see, won't we?
I hope she does.
Yeah. Well, even she didn't know, Mel, what I was asking for, and she was saying, "Oh, well, we're regulated by this authority, that authority," and I said, "No, we don't want. That's not what we're looking for. We want your your insurance, your bond, basically to trade, just in case there is misfeasance, malfeasance, and I decide to, come after you because I believe that fraud has been committed."
Yeah.
And the girl said, "Well, I've never been asked for that before."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, you need to go to your registered agent, who possibly is your CEO, and they'll know what it is." So we'll see. I mean, has anybody else had one yet?
I think we're probably all still new into asking that question.
Only I did get one.
But you got an insurance policy, didn't you?
Well, it was a committee. It's not even an insurance policy. They're not insured. It's a committee of 12, I believe Lee said. But I'll go into that when we go on to the WMA.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So basically, a bond is there to protect the likes of us if we need to.
Yeah.
If we need to go and sue somebody because we've
if they've acted fraudulently.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll update you on that one. But she said she'd never been asked for it before. And so I'd give them 24 hours to provide me with that, because all the rules and regulations when you're operating a business, as I do, oh my God, they've got you pinned down to every tiny little thing. You've got to have, public liability. All the cars that come in have got to be insured. All the cars that we hold have got to be insured. The building's got to be insured. Your tools have got to be insured. Why aren't they insured?
Yes,
With the
yeah,
footnote.
yeah.
They're all acting, which we know acting, in the public with regards to the banks and everything. And another interesting fact about TLT LLP, if you've not checked, oh, she said, oh, we're on Companies House. I said, I know you are. I said, but all that proves is that you're a corporation. TLT LLP never signed their paperwork, ever.
No.
It literally says TLT LLP.
Yeah.
Now that means members of. If you look at the all of the people that they have working for them, every single one says member. It doesn't say secretary, CEO, top lawyer, whatever they want to call themselves. They all just say members of LLP.
Allison,
And that,
with the Companies House as well. If they're on Companies House, they're registered on American soil, so
Of course
therefore
they are.
they
Duns
have
and
to be,
Bradstreet.
they have to be registered with the Foreign Agents Registration Act.
Yeah.
So that's another valid question for the freedom of information. They can't answer
Well,
it. It's treason.
Mickey, wait till you hear what me and Kevin's got to tell you about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interject there. I just wanted to get it on the records. I know the recording.
Yeah, so I know they're all registered with Duns and
And
Bradstreet.
what you'll get tomorrow, Alison, is an insurance package. And if you look it up, who the registered agent is, you will find out that it is a committee.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are now in a position to absolutely destroy that business. Okay.
Okay, so for layman's terms, then basically, Alison was issued a possession order in her absence, even though she told the court she couldn't attend the hearing.
Mel, that's ex parte though. That's unlawful in itself.
I know. I did warn them of that, Mikey.
Sorry again to interject.
No,
I did
explain
warn
that,
them.
Mike. Explain that, Michael. More detail.
Michael, sorry.
Ex parte, Mick, is where they hold a case, and the defendant is not present. That's ex parte. You can't do that. But as I say, they're bringing us in.
I've seen that on plenty of different case law.
Ex parte, yeah, it's case law, Mick, yeah.
Yeah, so I did warn them of that, and I actually Matt came over and we did the paperwork together, so we checked out all the reasons why they shouldn't go ahead without my presence. And all that happened was they wrote on the paperwork the defendant failed to attend.
Yeah,
the paperwork had gone in.
But this is the thing. This is the thing now, Alison, because they're obviously summonsing. You can only summons the dead, so they're summonsing a legal fiction. So what you can do is the legal fiction doesn't exist. So you can send a special appearance by Royal Mail delivery at any time before the case.
Yeah,
because you are the attorney in fact for the fiction.
Of course. Yeah. So I think with regards to that, Mel, I will update you when I do, when I do receive that.
Yeah.
But I think that sort of the final thing to say, because I know we've got a few people on there, that I really do feel that the tide's turning. I feel it. I've been in the beginning there with Andy, learning from the very beginning about all of this, why mortgages are securitized, how it happens. I understand all of that. I might not be able to quote you case laws and pace and stuff like that, but I do understand. And I really, really feel that the hunted, which was us, are now becoming the hunters. And I think there's a lot going on at the minute, a lot of judges being sacked, police being sacked. Because look at the way they're acting. They're acting, unlawfully. And it can't be allowed to be continuing. The lady in Liverpool that was disabled and they dragged her down the stairs and the police watched the bailiffs do that. Well, what is going on?
Yeah.
It's absolutely mental.
It's an absolute disgrace. And obviously,
it's disgraceful.
At the Harlow one, I'm trying to remember, Gordon, I think he's about,
I saw it, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's about 80, and he got assaulted and pushed into a bush from a copper.
Pepper sprayed.
Young copper, pepper
sprayed.
Yeah.
It's like Linda's as well. It even says on the court order that this warrant can't be used to force entry into the property.
Of course.
And it's in a box. But anyone reading that, on the street reading it, it says there, even though it's in the box, you don't understand it, it's not on the page. That's how psychotic.
Well, that's another That's another fact in law. Have you lost your Phil?
Yeah, I think so.
That's another fact in law, though. To use force in a civil matter is a
Yeah.
belligerent act of terrorism. So
Yeah.
we just need to keep doing what we're doing and documenting it, because tyranny and law cannot exist in the same realm, and that's where we're at now. So we just got to keep videoing it and get the hits, get the head counts up.
Yeah, but the other thing, Michael, which a lot of people might not be aware of, that I do believe, because a lot of these officers will not produce their warrant card.
No, well, that's the key thing, Alison.
That's when they're being paid.
That's the key thing, Alison. The first thing you do is ask them for that, and then once they produce that, they are personally liable without a doubt. But I've had cases where they won't, and they want to pull me down into the corporate jurisdiction when I know I'm not going. I want my lawful standing. So if you want to come and serve me, where's the verified criminal complaint? Or fuck off.
Because we know that they're paid for hire. We know that you know, from the inspector price, I think an inspector is something like, I don't know, £140 an hour or whatever, and it goes down to you know, they even have these pretend coppers, don't they? And I think they're about £90 an hour. They're all hired. How could you stand there in the situations we've been in, wearing that uniform and do what they're doing?
They don't know they're hired, though, Alison, to be fair. They don't know.
No, I know they don't. But why don't they produce the card? Because they're not acting under the authority of that card. So they can't, because they're basically prostitutes.
They're basically co-mingling now in law. Nobody can serve two masters, so they're in treason. That's what they're in.
Yeah, of course they are. But they are acting on behalf of the banks, on behalf of the courts, and they're not acting for the people. And they need to understand that the people have had enough.
Well, that's it. But they must be. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
You know, they must be getting told further up. Certain police must be delegated to go and deal with that, to go and assist the bailiffs and the banks. Yeah. They're the ones that must be told, well, you can't, you know, obviously produce your warrant card.
You can't.
Because they don't understand why they don't want to do it. And it's like, what was the one in was it Lancashire, the farm?
Yeah.
Where Steve cradled the sergeant over the gate.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, take that one for instance. You know, it's just plain as day. She was walking up, she was getting angry.
What happened there, though, Phil? Two showed up, and I immediately said to them, "Can I see your warrant card?" And he gave the warrant card. But then they held us there. We had that job tied up in an hour, and then he kept us there for 12 hours. And then 3 sergeants come and incarcerated the ones who give the warrant cards in the van.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Also, if I remember that one right, Phil and Michael, wasn't it the solicitor that was acting in between that was actually, there was a lot of corruption going on there as well?
It was, Alison, and the bank actually sided with the lady.
Yes, that's what's happened with me today.
I spoke to Bannerman the other day, and she's still on the farm, and no one's been there. But they're just exposing themselves, giving them enough rope, and it's gonna swing our way soon. We just need the head count.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons, well, it's the main reason really to do this podcast today and get you all on, is for people to learn more about it and know that, you know, it is a courageous thing to do. It's not for the faint-hearted. However, you know, you've got people like this that you can see in front of you now on the screen and more that are there and will have your back, and vice versa. And we're all in it together, and we're all educating each other every step of the way, because that's all we can do, you know, because it's the corruption is huge, as we know, and we're seeing it being dismantled. We're seeing it in the optics of the mainstream and whatever's going on with Trump and two-tier twat, you know, and all the rest of them. And but the more normal people, well, what is normal? You know what I mean?
Yeah, FTCs.
That get together and just create more numbers, the stronger we're going to get, and the more that it'll ripple, and the more that people will start to feel safer in it and feel like, you know, there is support, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's easy to say to people, lose the fear. I mean, I was a little bit anxious today with all this going on.
Yeah.
But now, you know, again, but we do it. I didn't back down. I didn't say, oh God, you know, we'll just forget it. You just have to keep moving forward, because where will it end?
Yeah.
we know where it'll end. You'll own nothing and be happy. That's where it's going to end.
Yeah.
Because look at the houses that are going up for sale at the moment.
Yeah.
Masses and masses, because people can't afford to run any faster on that hamster wheel. So something's got to give.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing. They're bailing themselves out, and which is a good thing, really, in one way, because years ago, they'd have stood at the door with the keys to give to the bailiffs. You know, don't give them your house. If you have to sell, sell it. Don't give them your house.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, they're the ones that win.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we wish you all the luck that you've got anyway. I know you've got I know you've got it behind you, and it's already happening for you. So be keen to know how it goes with the wonderful.
Absolutely, I will definitely update you.
Give them a shout out, TLT. You were saying about the fact that they're members, so they're not even known as directors or whatever. So what is the difference, and what protection is that giving them?
Well, I think collectively they don't have a role. They all are in the fishing net together, you know. So there isn't anybody out. There isn't even anybody to call the registered agent or the CEO. They're all. Wow. And you've only got to look at the corruption. I know I can't remember the guy's name who exposed it all. It is there. Yeah. You look at them; they will be appointed one day and resign the next, and then all this shifting around of positions and stuff.
Yeah.
So we know we know how that works as well. They think we're stupid.
Yeah, yeah, and we have been. Let's be honest. We have been for a
probably
long time.
Not aware. Yeah, not
exactly.
I wouldn't say so much stupid. Just a bit naive.
Yeah.
You know, we don't expect people to the evil that we face here.
Yeah, I agree.
No, I only found the light because I found the darkness first. But you don't expect it. I mean, you know, and the word human, get rid of that. Article 29.3 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It's a political trap. You're not a human. You're a man or a woman. A human is the color of man. Yeah. It's a trap. It's the UN. It's a UN political construct. So take note of Article 29.3 of that. And any rights they give you, alleged right, any benefit is revoked if it goes against the UN agenda, and that's the enemy. That's the enemy, like the WHO.
Enemy of the people.
Yeah, it's a political construct. So don't ever cite it. You can put CF and quote their obligation to it. But don't ever cite it, because then you're saying you're a product of that. Like when they keep releasing me from prison, they keep saying I'm a UK citizen. No, I'm not. The UK's a fucking body corporate. I'm not a body corporate. Where the blood flows, the flesh lives. But that's uttering a false document, because I never claimed to be from a corporation.
That's it.
But be very careful with the word human. You're not a human. You're man or woman. You're made in the image of God. You've got inalienable rights. But if you surrender them by your own tongue, they'll have you on it.
Of course.
So don't ever cite that Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and take note of 29.3, because it takes all them benefits away if it goes against the UN agenda, and the UN agenda is global control with the World Health Organization.
Absolutely.
The devil's in the detail, man. You just got to be fucking on the ball 24/7.
They take your liberty and give you your rights.
That's it. It's a trade-off, but they can't take it. They need you to surrender it. Your soul is yours. They can't take it. It's got to be surrendered to them. It's Karmaic law.
Well, okay, Alison, thank you very much for sharing.
You're welcome.
And I think naturally we're going to go over to Michael.
Okay.
And thank you so much, and we wish you all the best with.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Little bit you've got to sort out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Michael, what got you into all of this? What got you into all of a sudden finding yourself in the courts and fighting the system?
I've always been I've always liked that I've always liked that type of thing. Well, the espionage and all that. I've always been into that. But the big wake up call was the mask. I worked for Jaguar Land Rover for 10 years, and he come to me and he said, "Wait, we need you to wear this mask." It was on a very physical job. Well, it was July, I think. It was very hot on a very physical job. So I wore the mask and I nearly passed out, and it's not like me. So straight away I flagged it. I said, "I need to wear with you." I said, "Where's the risk assessment?" And when I asked him for that, he ran away. I knew straight away. I mean, I obviously done my own work, and I knew there was no verified Cox postulate isolate of the virus. I knew that the guy who invented the PCR, I knew he was killed, Kerry Mullis. I knew he was killed. I knew the PCR was contaminated with a class 2 carcinogen. And it all come together when he actually tried to make me wear that fucking nappy on my face. I said no.
Yeah.
And then I went through a process with them. They wouldn't answer any questions, not one question. And I was doing a lot of research, and then I went to get an affidavit notarized then on a tier 4 lockdown. And I perfected the 90-day lien, and the paperwork's still there, but it's worth an absolute fortune, Mel. But I only asked him, I'm a modest man. I only asked him for 12 years pay. I said, we'll put this to bed now. Give us 12 years pay and I'll walk. But if they'd have called me on that, Mel, I would have probably signed an NDA and I'd just sold my soul in the process. But they didn't call me on it. And I'm fucking made up they never, because I wouldn't have enjoyed spending that money. No. I wouldn't be able to speak about it. But they didn't call me on it. And that's what really woke me up. So since then, Mel, I just won't contract with them, and they keep coming and coming, and I'm on my toes at the minute. Mel. They're going to addresses looking for me to try to get me under that corporate name, but they won't get me.
And what are they trying to get you for?
Well, what Allison touched on there, a driving offence, right? So because of what? Because I know what they are. The phonies, the police. They're not protecting us. The corporate shills. So I blew it. There was a policeman in an unmarked BMW. So he's driving like Miss Daisy, Mel, and I was in a rush, and he's in his right-hand lane. But I didn't know it was a policeman because he was in an unmarked car. So eventually he goes into a left-only lane right before the light changed. So he's kind of teed me up. So I went through the red light. Then he's come after me then in his unmarked car, pulled me over. So I've just said, listen, I'm not contracting with you. Where's the victim? So I've given him a power of attorney then. So he's used the information off the power of attorney document and then processed me as the fiction. So I didn't contract. I didn't agree to anything, and then I didn't go to court. And then they've come coming after me for a warrant. So they got me, and I went straight to court. And then I got a court case. So I went into the court and told them not the fiction. And the judge just called guilty anyway. So he put me up for sentence, and I didn't go because I'm not contracting. It's at Nissy Prius Court. I've got no business there. And there's no. I need a jury of my peers pursuant to the Bill of Rights. You know what? I've resigned from the UK Corporation, Mel, in 2020, I believe it was. So it's unconstitutional to give me a job. Now, the word driving is someone who's employed. Yeah, it's a commercial term. So I've resigned from the UK Corporation in disgust because of the genocide I've witnessed. So it's unconstitutional to give me a job and not pay me. And not only that, I need to see the adhesion clause from the contract that I never signed in the first place. It's fucking absurd.
What do you mean you resigned from the UK? What is
that? The UK is a body corporate. You'll never see, Mel. You'll never see in the United Kingdom in English. It's always in Doglet and Glossa. That's one of three things pursuant to the Chicago Manual Styles. Any in all caps is one of three things. It's either a trust, which is your name on your birth certificate, an acronym, an acronym like that, WHO. Or the United Kingdom, it's a body corporate, so there's only one of three things is anything in all caps. So I asked the judge in this case I've got for September for the policeman who assaulted me when he was trespassing. I asked the judge, you need to correct the grammar on the name there. I said, because that's not me. That name doesn't belong to me. I said, I'd be committing fraud if I claim to be that name, which is how they tax you, the legalised tax. It's law. It's voluntary servitude, isn't it? If you use the Crown's name, you're using their property, so they tax you. So the judge refused to correct the name. So that's in September, that case. But I think I'm going to send him a private trust deposit and just tell him, listen, you need to correct that grammar because I'm not coming in there, mate, as a Crown property. I said, the Crown are in treason. I said, I don't want nothing to do with the Crown. I'll be in treason as a secondary offender if I go in there, Mm. But they're coming after me at all angles, but they won't get me. They won't get me. I'll die on this, they'll me. Yeah. I've got a baby girl now, so if I don't fight for my rights, you won't have any.
And you said they're coming after you. Are you having to move around?
Yeah, they won't find me now, but I'm watching me back all the time now because it's getting to the nitty gritty now. I can't I won't drive a plate where they know. I won't drive any car where they know I'm linked to that car.
So what can you do to stop this harassment?
I don't know. The castle doctrine, Mel, I'm relying on at the minute.
Oh, there's got to be something, hasn't there?
Yeah, well, I've just got to keep exposing it, Mel, and stay out of the line of view. I'm not going as far as to wearing the wigs yet, Mel.
Well, obviously, the World Martial Authority is obviously where we're going with all of this, and they have the authority, we believe, that can basically take these people to task. So are you feeling like that is going to be your sort of golden light?
Well, it was like when all this was happening to me early on. I seen a video of Steve and Phil, and I was looking for them for months and months. And when I eventually met them, they were looking for me because they'd seen the video with the policeman coming to me mother's. And that's when I got involved with rapid response, and it didn't have to give me a lift because I Mickey T was saying before, he lost all his mates. Same thing happened to me, and I've just I've lost them, and don't get me wrong, I've won a lot of them back because it's become quite obvious now what's going on.
Yeah.
But at the time in 2019, I was so lonely, and when I bumped into the rapid response lads, it gave me such a lift, and I've just come on leaps and bounds, knowledge wise, and rubbing shoulders with people on the same path.
And how is obviously you've just had a baby, so how is
she's 9, me baby Mel.
Oh, I
she's
thought
9, yeah, but
okay.
It's the baby. The baby's me motivation for, if I don't fight for my rights, she won't have any. So our baby signed an ecclesiastical separation 2 weeks before she was 7. Pursuant to the Chester KV Act, you have to declare them alive before 7 years. So I got a little thumb, squeezed a little thumb. She was crying, put a little thumbprint on the document and sent it to the registry office, the Attorney General, and there was 3 recipients of it because of delivery. So that's gone in, and the school, the NHS have all got a copy of it. So I'll do it again before she's 14. Every 7 years I'll do it, but they're not taking her soulmate. No way.
So they haven't kicked back on that. They
don't respond, Mel. But that's tacit acquiescence.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I was deceived, Mel. I didn't know when I signed it, though. To be honest, when I registered, I got a weird feeling, and I should have went with my gut and just threw the paperwork back at them. But I signed it over. But then I found the clause, or the 7-year clause of the Chester KV. So I've executed that right on time as well.
Okay, cool. So what would you, well, thank you for sharing. And I'm same, that I said to Allison, I wish you all the very best. You're obviously, it's a little bit stressful for you right now. But what would you...
Mel, I've been through the worst of the stress now. It's just, we've already won this. It's just damage limitation now, because these will never stop. What they're guilty of, they'll never stop. They're horrible. I think there's an off-world element to it, I think, because it's anti-man, it's anti-mankind.
Yeah.
The way they've tried to deceive people to be human, that's to give jurisdiction away. That's not of this world, that, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. What would you say to anybody that's sort of sitting on the fence with all this? They know it's corrupt, they know it's a load of bollocks, but they just don't quite know, or they haven't taken that brave pill to take that first step. What would you say?
What I'd say to anyone like that, no, is what I always say. You've got to ask the question on your bills that come to your house. If it's addressing one entity, why is there 2 different grammatics? That's 2 different entities, but you've got free will. You've got free will. They can't take your free will off you. So you can either be the living man in English, or you can be the dog Latin corporation who's subject to a higher power, which is not God.
Yeah.
So you can't serve both, but you've got the choice. That's why there's 2 different grammars on the paperwork.
Yeah.
That's the key. That's the key to it all. There's grammatic deception. That's why it's called spelling.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say to anyone, Mel. And once you start looking into that, I mean, the great video I always quote, Mel, is Hierarchy by Justinian Deception. And he Rodney Stewart marks it out on a whiteboard for you. And it's epic. But he's had a hard time, but if the cat's out of the bag now, there's no good zooming him in. He's put the message out there.
Yeah.
What's that
called? I'm just, pardon?
What's that called again, mate? Hierarchy?
It's called Hierarchy. It's on you get it on YouTube by Justinian Deception. I'll put it on Mel's site. I'll put it on Mel's Telegram.
Yeah, please do. And I can put that in the description as well below. So, okay, brilliant. Thank you so much, Michael, for sharing. Thank you. I'm going to keep moving. I think we're going to come to Kenny and his partner in crime, which there's no name on here, so I'm struggling. If I, can you unmute yourselves, guys?
Here we go.
There we go.
Yeah,
you got him?
Have we got it?
Yeah, you're there. You're there.
Oh, technology.
Yeah, it's no good. none of us know, we've only just got the computer up and running. Well,
You
yeah.
saw me, yeah.
So,
Okay.
Well,
so
it's going now.
sorry, you're on as user, and your name, sir?
Gary.
Gary. You're Gary, right? Okay, cool.
Fuck's sake, what have I let myself in for on Wednesday?
Okay, Jack.
So Gary and Kenny, what was your journey like? And whoever wants to go first. But what got you into joining Rapid Response and and your own challenges? Because I know Kenny, you've gone full in with the car stuff. Gary, I know less about your journey, so maybe we start with Gary, and you just let us know sort of what kick-started you into all of this.
Yeah, well, I suppose my journey started 18 months ago, something like that. But I always knew in my heart as a kid to ask questions. And I've always asked questions, simple things like you used to go down the beach and they'll say no dogs are allowed on the beach. And I used to think to myself, well, who the fuck are they to say you can't take your dog on the beach? What gives them the right to stop you using the beach? And I was probably only about 10 or 11 then, but like in them days, there was nobody to ask. So, it just time goes on and on, goes on. And then as it happened, Kenny told me there was a meeting in Derby once. It was all about everything really, and speeding was one of the main things that I went for. Speeding and parking tickets. I wanted to learn how to get out of them.
Is it Dave Murphy?
And Dave Murphy, that's the one. That's the guy I'm looking for, Dave Murphy. Yeah,
As in allegedly Dave.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, that was it then, and that's where my journey really started. So I ended up getting off with a couple of speeding tickets and parking tickets and shit like that, and then the thing is, it wasn't on again. So next time I seen Kenny, I says, Kenny, when's that sovereign meeting on with that guy again? He says, oh, there's one tonight. Darren's doing one. So that was at Barge, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went that night to that one, and for about 2 years I went, and that's where it really started. And I've got files. I've printed files off from it all now. How to file council tax, this, that, and the other, and I've learned a hell of a lot in the last 18 months sort of thing. So yeah.
And in terms of the speeding fines, you got off a couple of them, you said.
Yeah.
How,
I mean,
how did you manage that?
with the templates that Darren had gave us, I used the templates, but yeah, I got off with them.
What was the subject or the content of that letter?
Well, the thing is, what you do, you have to write back to them, thanking them for the letter, the piece end, and blah blah blah. You want several questions answering before, one of them being, is this addressed to myself, Gary, the living man, or is it the all caps name, Gary Maud?
Yeah.
Sort of thing. That was one of the questions, obviously, that they weren't answering. Again, the other questions were, there's about 7 questions you ask them anyway, but they couldn't answer any of them.
And so they didn't.
I've got the template upstairs. I mean, my memory's really crap. This is why I have to print everything off.
Yeah.
And then I can go back to my folder and just recap. In fact, I'm in fight with the Bristol Council at the minute. When me, Phil, and all that lot went down to the case at Bristol Crown Court a couple of months ago. I drove through a ULEZ, a no clean air zone thing.
Yeah.
So they're trying to do me on that now. But I've sent them a notice. Same again. I've asked them all the questions. Not once have they replied to any questions, but they says we've looked at your form, blah blah blah. But then they're not happy with it, sort of thing. So
I've found out because I've got some clean air shite, and They're very aggressive, the debt collectors, on behalf of this Birmingham Council for me. Very aggressive, not letting it go at all.
Well, I'm not bothered about, like I said, I'm not bothered about the bailiffs and what have you, because that's what me and Kenny do around the Long Eaton area anyway. We clear them off, sort of thing. The bailiffs. Yeah, we've had a couple of good successions, and Kenny, you ask him for the instruments from court and what have you, and we can't talk to you. We have to talk to the owner, sort of thing, and the owners give us full permission to answer, but they won't answer. I mean, he soon got in his car and cleared off, didn't he? It was gone. It was gone like the wind.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's more and more stuff coming out, isn't there? Like the Bristol and Sue.
Yeah. There's plenty of evidence out there and what have you.
Yeah,
You've just got to do your research and.
exactly. And what about you, Kenny? What got you into all of this? And you've gone full on with the car deregistration and stuff, I believe.
Oh, go for it, yeah. Because like I said, it all started off, like I said, with the COVID. Yeah. I think people had a lot of time on their hands,
Yeah.
and it just resonated that something was wrong.
Yeah.
Something was wrong from that point there. And we started researching, and we've always grown up knowing that the government lies anyway. So that's when they all go into alignment, you know there's something wrong. Yeah, when the media and the government go into line, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
So every war we've ever gone to, that's how they've done it. Yeah. So we knew something was wrong. So like I say, well, I do the food kitchens with the homeless, and one of the things that I always keep on saying to people is, okay, then you're saying this COVID's so deadly. How come none of the homeless that we work with, none of them have died from COVID? And the reason was because they ain't got fucking TVs. That's what it was. All the bullshit that came through the TV, our lot were fine.
Yeah.
No distancing, hygiene, none of this, close distance, none of it.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. But then you started seeing, well, I think Billy was the main catalyst for a lot of us. Yeah, because Billy, what a warrior. Matt, when they challenged the banks and they went in deep, and I said Billy went and got his money back from the banks, proof of mortgage fraud, I think it was 47 grand put back into his bank. And then this is when the bailiffs came after him. This is when the system came after him. Now, he even went to court with him. When he went with his file, he just proved the reason why he got this money given back to him. And they just dismissed him. They just didn't even want to listen. And he just proved his point. And that's when they all turned up at his house. And that's when we had good numbers. We had a force. Derby came together. That brought a lot of different people together. And we were all there and we stood our ground. And that's when we started learning more and more. Now, some of the knowledge that some of the guys have got out there, way, way beyond me. It's amazing. But like I said, without the COVID and without us being activated, we wouldn't have learned what we've learned now.
Yeah.
And if I'm getting robbed yesterday, I'm not getting robbed today, the day after, and the day after.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. We started to stand. And then when you start to see a lot of these, they were bully boys. Yeah. These guys were big, and they've been, and we've come across them before, but we didn't know that they had no power. Because I always tell people to watch Nature of the Cage, The Straw Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because some people, we've got to wean them into this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's so deep and the people talk so deeply. I mean, me and Gary, we're just like, what do you mean? It's like, what
we're represent. We do know what's going on. We 100% know what's going on, and we know how to handle it. If my phone went now, I'd be in my car and I'd be round the house.
He might be the smallest, but he's the worst. Yeah,
they call me the terrier.
Yeah.
well, Mick does anyway. Mick from Coventry,
and even he's afraid of it. Yeah. So yes, I've always hated bullies. Always got bullied at school. 3 black guys in a school full of bikers. Not easy. Yeah, so we've always, you get to a point when enough's enough. And when you see and we hear the bullshit, and that's what I love about going together when we get the rapid response. We've got people with knowledge You mean they're the front line? Yeah, the girls are absolutely amazing.
They are.
You know what I mean? It's like thinking, second lines are the girls. You know what I mean? Third lines are the lads. Come past the touch the girls, and then you come across the lads, and that's when it switches up. But the knowledge that we've got to get past now, we knew they were never going to give in at the first time. Yeah, we knew. Yeah, and they've just been blatantly going more. You mean? But we've got it on film, more and more evidence, and we've backed them up, backed them up, backed them up. Yeah, they'll still do a few road things, but most times, I mean, they've got to send a signal every now and again. But most of the times now, we've got them on the back foot. Yeah, they don't want it. Yeah, and that's why it's good to have numbers behind you. And it is a family. Yeah, some family you get on with, some family you don't. Yeah, but it's still a family. Yeah, and we're here for each other.
Yeah, you definitely need the numbers. I mean, we used to work as a team. Like you've always got the knowledgeable ones with all the paperwork. They're the ones. Me, Kenny. I mean, we were frontline men. We were more frontline. We were there for the action sort of thing. I was actually the locksmith. I used to get in the houses.
Yeah.
When we was taking them back. So that was basically my job. That suited me because like I'm crap at remembering stuff. You'll probably pick up on that as you're talking to me. But like I say, I know exactly what's going on, and if I need to know anything, I'll just resort back to my files now.
Yeah, or what
depending what I'm fighting, then I know what file to get. I'll have a quick read, then I'll write them a notice and send it. And Bob's your uncle, and that's how I fight it. But
yeah, absolutely. Fair play to you.
Yeah. Gary, it's getting that transparent now though. That whatever you're fighting, all meanders to the same fucking fraud, man.
It is. I know it is.
It's a joint corporate criminal enterprise to curtail a man's rights under the colour of law. That's where it all goes back to. Whatever you're fighting, it's all ties into the same. You've just got to do the forensic tracking of it.
Yeah,
it'll be the kingpin of the corporation. He's a Freemason. That's all it is.
Well, this is where when you talk,
took them thousands of years, Kenny, to build this shit, but we're bringing it down in super fast speed.
How far they went back is amazing. Who came up with this shit way back in the
dark satanic fuckers.
Yeah, and but no, it's a combination lock, and we're breaking it down. Yeah, we're breaking it down, and like I said, the police are worried about us now, especially Nottingham and Derby. They don't want to mess with over this side. Yeah,
you gotta be Kenny. Keep yourself safe, Kenny, because we'll all be on a list, man.
I'm on a list.
I know we're on a list, but
just keep your wits about you.
Mate,
keep your wits about you. I mean, it's a good thing about the Zoom calls because you can take us out with a scud. You can't do it when on the Zoom call.
Yeah, we're definitely on a watch list.
Yeah,
and, it's not been easy. It's not been easy like you're going through, and we know that they're on our backs, but once we're standing together and whatever one lacks, somebody else has got in the group. Yeah. So that's when all the knowledge starts coming together. We can just reach out because people having successes in different areas. And it's all working together to get that information. You mean?
Yeah.
And once you lock that in, you've got it. And we're getting it.
Totally. And what would you two say to anybody that's sat on the fence with all of this?
What learners you mean? Like
people that
just coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, all they can do really is go on TikTok, YouTube, and just listen to the likes of I forgot his name now. I'm shit with his name.
But what I'm going to say is,
anybody knowledgeable, let's say that.
But for the ones that are teaching, we've got to break it down to baby food. Yeah, you can't, even when we come into the police, we throw it so deep, and they ain't that bright. Yeah. That's the thing we keep on forgetting. They're not that frigging bright. So when we go in deep, that's why I try and engage with them and just say, look at this, check that out. Because when you just tell the police, oh, you're all in it for money, you're all a corporation. And I say to them, listen, you might have been searching for a kid that's been lost. You might have been dealing with a stabbing. Yeah. But what we're saying is you need to go back and look at what we're saying. We keep on clashing heads. Yeah.
Kenny, there's a technique there. There's a technique for that. You know, like you know what they're like with the cognitive dissonance. But there's a technique called shrimp tap, and you kind of like
what?
shrimp tap. It was in a book. Matt Lassisi did a podcast, and he mentioned this book. I can't for the life of me remember the name of it, but I bought it straight away. It's got this shrimp tap technique in it, and you kind of like ask them questions that opens up the inquisitiveness. You don't fire facts at them straight away. You ask them questions, and you let them seek the knowledge themselves.
That's what we've got to do. That's what we've got to do.
Yeah, you've just got to ease them in gently because it's
because like I say, when you throw stuff at me and like the knowledge that you guys have got, you just come in with for it. It's just like, what? You mean? So when you engage them, because when we go too deep and say you just have to forgive money, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. That's when the eyes roll over like a shark, right? And they're blank. But there's people, there's a part where they're curious if dissecting baby food for them. It's too much, because even for me, I'm listening to 1707 and friggin', and I'm like, what the fuck you mean? You mean?
Yeah.
No. And that's where we lose them.
Yeah, it's too deep for me.
I've just put that one in. I was talking to Mick about the hierarchy. I've just put that on Mel's Telegram channel. But watch that. If you haven't seen that, watch it again and watch it again. And he breaks it down on a whiteboard for you, so it's easy to follow. And he's nobody's fool, Romney Stewart. He's had hiding after them. But they've got to leave him alone now because it's too late now. He's put the information out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. Thank you very much for sharing and being here. I'm gonna move on.